In a recent interview with Total Film magazine, Tom Holland was asked if he could talk a little bit about the approach to this film and how the character and the themes from the first two Spider-Man films have evolved. And he specifically talks about the tone and the feel of the film and how it gets much darker and much sadder than the previous iterations. So Tom Holland was asked, obviously, what's changing here? Because when it comes to Spider-Man, in Homecoming, we saw how they were handling the character. He was still very naive, very, oh, I want to have fun, I want to prove I'm this and that. And then, in terms of Far From Home, he grew up a little bit, but he wanted to kind of leave everything behind and enjoy his life before he had to commit to full-time superhero stuff, which obviously caused a whole lot of problems. So naturally, Peter Parker is growing. And if you go back and read the first, I would say 50 to 60 issues of Spider-Man written by Stan Lee, you're going to see a lot of parallels of Peter Parker not wanting to grow up and abusing some of the, powers he has and how he learns a lesson from them. Again, those comics were very different, but Marvel Studios has managed to capture many of the elements in a modern day context. So what exactly happens next? Well, he said that people are going to be surprised that this is not really as fun as those films. That this film has a lot of sad and dark moments that are really going to be effective on everything that's going on and the characters that we see and how we perceive these characters. And he says that there's a lot in here that's going to lean into the different side of Peter and the emotion that he's bringing to the role. Now, of course, we don't really know how or why, but here's my guess. If these villains are showing up in the multiverse, and specifically a character like Doc Ock, for example, who they stated, oh, he's showing up in this, and it's right as he dies in Spider-Man 2. And it looks to be the same thing with Electro, and the same thing with Green Goblin. I think it's safe to say that maybe, just maybe, what he's hinting at is that these villains, if they are restored back to their universe, they're gonna die. And they're going to probably make Spider-Man feel bad about that, being like, look, Peter, if you fix this, we're gone. Do you want that on your hands? And I think that is a sad moment if you really think about it. Again, Peter does not want to do this, but they're going to have to, and they're going to have to overcome it. He's going to have to team up with some people, and the story's going to have to play off of that because it is a big decision. What do we do, and how are we going to handle this? And I like that, and that within itself is going to be very depressing when you realize that, hey, yeah, if they win, those characters are restored right back to where they went, and they're suddenly going to just die. Like, that's pretty depressing, which could probably explain, how this film is going to be probably the darkest and the most depressing and the most serious of the Spider-Man films so far, because it's a lot to juggle, especially for a Spider-Man that is so young, like Peter Parker, These aren't just mindless beasts that Thanos is releasing. These are sentient human beings that are gonna make him question what he's doing, if it's right or wrong, and beg for their life. That's a lot to have on your hands. Or at least that's just my guess. Maybe I'm looking at this a little bit too far, but it's not gonna surprise me if that's a huge element of the film. That they're like, whoa, man, please don't put us back. I don't want to die. And he's like, well, now I gotta question everything I'm doing.